What's going on, Hoopers? Today I'm here with Danny Cooper, who's a D3 Hooper at Moravian University. I'm going to get to learn about him, both as a player on and off the court.
How's it going, man? I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem. All right, so let's take a little bit of a dive into your background. So tell me a little bit about what got you interested in basketball.
Yeah, man. I just started playing basketball probably as young as 4 years old. My dad actually built so in our cul-de-sac, our driveway is like up a hill. So my dad didn't want to have a hoop in the driveway because he didn't want me to run in the street. So he built me a mini half court in the backyard when I was 4. And 22 now, so ever since, just lived back there, and that kind of helped me build my love for the game. So,
that's crazy. I mean, same thing with me. I got a side hoop at one point, and after like trying a few other sports, like basketball was the only thing that stuck. I was like, basketball is my thing. That's my sport. So, obviously, right, you started at 4 years old, but time moves on. You get a little bit older. So, what was your high school basketball experience like?
Yeah, for sure. So I played at Plymouth Whitemarsh High School. For those who aren't familiar, it's a pretty storied program. Did the route that a lot of players take. I played on the freshman team my freshman year, played on the JV team my sophomore year. And then I played 2 years varsity. Junior year, I was either 6-man some games or didn't play. And then senior year, I was 6-man, started a couple games. It was a great experience. My senior year, we were 19th in the country, actually. So it was, I learned a lot. It was a great experience playing. So,
would you change anything if you went back and, relived your high school years?
It's funny because I was just talking to my mom about this. And a lot of my friends played at rival high schools, and they got to play 3 or 4 years of varsity and scored 1,000 points. And I only really got to play 2 years of varsity and only scored 250 points because I was the 5th or 6th option on my team. And had I been on a rival team, I probably would have started and had a lot more points. But honestly, I wouldn't change anything because those years taught me like how to fight through adversity and how to work for what you want. And even if you do work, the results aren't guaranteed. So the life lessons that I learned in those 4 years, I wouldn't trade for the world, because now I know, and I've seen through my college basketball experience, those days prepared me. And I don't think I'd be where I'm at today had I gone to another high school and just kind of had an easy route and scored 1,000. So, yeah.
So you mentioned college there for a second. How did you end up at Moravian University?
Yeah, so it's a long story. I'll try to make it short. Coming out of high school, I was D1 or bust, kind of like a lot of kids. I didn't really have a lot of education on Division III. So I had around 10 Division III schools interested in me. But my brother was at Penn State main campus. I was like, I'm just going to go there. I was a little worn out after my senior season. We lost after a really good year. So went to Penn State my first 2 years. I tried to walk on my sophomore year, actually. And after I was unsuccessful, then COVID hit. And I was kind of at a crossroads, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. And I started training a little bit. We'll get into that later. But I was home in the pandemic, and I had nothing to do. So kind of just had a moment where I was like, you know what, I'm going to try to play college basketball. So I emailed pretty much every Division III coach with my high school highlight tape. And one of the assistants from Moravian happened to be a player from Plymouth Whitemarsh he was kind of like a big brother to me growing up. So I reached out to him and I said, hey, do you have any advice? What do you think I should do? And he was like, dude, come to Moravian. And at first I was like, I'm not going to Moravian. I don't want to do that. But, after getting a couple options and during the pandemic, not many schools were even open. So Moravian was one of the only schools where we had a season and could be on campus. So yeah, it's kind of where I did. And I'm now here for my 3rd year at Moravian. So it's been a great experience.
Yeah. And it was definitely interesting to watch some of I loved watching your highlights there.
Appreciate that.
Stuff like that. So I guess transitioning a little bit of training, I feel like more off-court stuff, but now that you are essentially a D3 hooper,
Right.
watching film is super important. So how do you go about watching film?
Yeah, no, watching film has helped me. I was just talking to my teammate about this. Like, everyone learns in such a different way, and you can also learn in multiple ways. So sometimes like because he was asking me, when did you get to this level between high school and now? Right. And I was kind of telling him when I became a trainer. And that's kind of a weird answer, but when I became a trainer, I just was obsessed with watching film, watching other trainers, watching games every day. And I think just from watching that, you pick up on things that you don't even necessarily need to rep it out on the court. But then when you go out there and play pickup, like your mind just intuitively starts doing stuff that you've seen. So I think, I mean, yeah, just watching, I honestly don't love watching film of myself. I used to, but I found recently I don't love it because I just kind of like going out there and hooping now. So I'll do it sometimes, but I really just love watching, Chris Paul, Trae Young, Steph Curry, just watching them and then picking up those things that I can then put into my game. So that's helped me a ton.
I was just about to ask like who you like to watch, and you already answered the question for me.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much any of the top point guards. I mean, Steph Curry, Trae Young, Chris Paul, like I just mentioned.
So were you always a point guard?
Yeah. So growing up, why my high school experience was kind of like that is I was such a late bloomer. So I was always the smallest person on my team. High school, freshman year, I was 5 feet. Sophomore year, I was 5'3". Junior year, I was 5'6". Senior year, I was like 5'9", 150 pounds. So like that was just naturally, I was a point guard because of my size. Now I'm like probably 6 feet, 195. So I'm bigger, but I'm still a point guard. So yeah, I just always love being the quarterback out there, like being in control of everything. So
yeah, you get to run the floor. I'm trying to get to like 6 feet. I don't know. Maybe that's like with or without shoes.
Yeah, I mean, man, I grew a couple inches after high school. So I mean, it's like being a late bloomer is definitely a thing. So high schoolers got more time than you think.
Yeah. So you also have your own YouTube channel, Danny Cooper Basketball, which is probably the biggest reason why I decided to start my own. Big inspiration to me. So what led you or inspired you to create your YouTube channel?
Yeah. So are you familiar with Devontae Frigga?
Yeah.
So I always kind of, so I'll get to him in a second, but I always would say to myself that I think it would be really cool to look back on my life and just kind of see where I was at and be able to rewatch it. So Gary Vaynerchuk, big inspiration of mine. He always talks about documenting. So I think last summer, summer 21, I had a really good summer just with my business, and I was interning for Drew Hanlon and did a lot of cool stuff, but I didn't document it. And I didn't really have any memories from it. So, it was one of like my regrets that I was like, I don't remember the summer because I didn't document it. So right. In October, when our season was starting, I was like, my grandparents actually bought me a camera for my birthday. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to try this out. So started just documenting my season, inspired by Devontae Frigga, and yeah, called it Life as a D3 Hooper. And that was October 21. So almost 10 months ago. That kind of started my YouTube and content journey really. And just been, ever since been trying to grow on there and have had a great time. Here and there, I'll go back and rewatch some of that stuff. It's a little cringy from the first days, but I mean, when everyone starts, they're not good. So it's cool to see how far I've come, just in production wise and just confidence as a person. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I was always just I think I had like post notifications on. I was like, when's the next episode?
Love it.
Just because it was like not that many other people you could get a real life of a D3 Hooper, like a glimpse into what you're doing.
Right.
Whether it's on the court, off the court, with teammates, the culture there, stuff like that.
And on that note, real quick, sorry to interrupt. It's like I wanted to build a platform. You there? I think I lost you there.
Yeah, I lost you for a second.
Yeah, I was just saying another reason I did it is because in high school I was D1 or bust, and I didn't know much about D3. So if I can inspire you or another high school kid who says, you know what, I might not be able to go D1 out of high school, but I can have an amazing experience as a student and an athlete, Division III, then I'm going to do that. So that was a big inspiration for me as well.
Yeah, because I've started to just tour a few colleges. And, it's like a big thing, right? You get like one kind of chance to go for 4 years or whatever you want to do.
Right.
And you only get one chance to really go to college and pursue
Right.
that thing. But from like a student athlete perspective, you wanted to like figure out where's the best place to go academically, but also like I really want to play basketball on the side. So you got to take all those different levels.
For sure.
So on your Instagram, and also I forgot to mention to everybody that I'll link your YouTube channel in the description, that you are a trainer player. So what does that mean to you?
Yes, sir. So trainer player, I'll give a little backstory. So a good friend named Coleman Ayers at By Any Means Basketball, if you're familiar with him.
Yeah.
So he's been a big help just in my content journey and training journey and, business journey, all that stuff. So we became pretty close over the last year. And I was actually in Miami at his gym, I believe in February of this past year. And we always kind of giving each other feedback, like constructive criticism. And one thing he said to me was, yo, I don't think, I think you should start posting more of your training content on your socials, not as much as a player, because ultimately you're going to be done playing and you want to be known as a trainer, not a player.
Right.
And I looked at my Instagram and I hadn't posted a training video since December. I'm like, he's probably right. So he was like, I don't know if he said this or I said this, but someone was like, I could call myself the trainer player, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but ever since that, I was like, I want to be known as a trainer first and then a player. So it's kind of like a mix of both. And I'm kind of just bridging both passions together. And because ultimately the ball stops bouncing at some point. Yeah. So I'm kind of, that's kind of the inspiration for it. And I think it's cool. It also shows people you don't need to be one-dimensional. You can do multiple things at once and still be successful. So it's definitely a grind, but that's kind of the trainer player background.
Very unique. I'll tell you that. But I'm sure you train a bunch of different ages of players.
Yeah.
And at some point, like I do, right? They all look up to you. So who's somebody you look up to?
So a big mentor of mine, Drew Hanlon, he kind of took me under his wing. I went to a seminar of his 2.5 years ago, and then he allowed me to intern for him in Philly for 4 weeks and then LA for 3 weeks. So I definitely would not be here without Drew. He's probably my biggest mentor. And then from afar, Gary V, big inspiration for mine, just with all the content stuff and positive mindset and all that stuff. Those two for sure. It's my two inspirations. So.
Did that internship, change your perspective on anything, especially working under him, like what you could become?
Oh yeah. So it was really one of the first times I was working with high level NBA players. So number one, just how to carry yourself on the court with those types of guys. Those guys are big personalities with millions of dollars. And one of the main things I took from Drew is just his confidence and he never wavers to who the player is, right? So if it's a G League player, an overseas player, or a NBA All-Star, he's gonna have the same mantra and portray the same confidence, because ultimately if you're confident as a trainer and a person, they're gonna be more confident in you, right? You don't want to go out there and be shaky in the workout or not really know what to do. So that's one of the things I've been working on the most, especially as a 22-year-old. When I'm working with NBA players, how do I portray that confidence that you can trust me and we're going to have a great workout and I'm going to get you better? So that's a big thing I learned from Drew. Also, just how you treat people, relationships is everything. Drew's kind to everyone who walks in the gym, say hi to everyone, give everyone the time of day, no matter who they are, whether they're an intern or an NBA All-Star. So those are kind of the things. Obviously, all the basketball skill stuff, but really the other stuff is what I took away. So
you mentioned you're 22. Do you have any advice for your younger self?
Advice for my younger self? I've never really thought about that much. I mean, I would say I kind of have this mindset now, but I would just say like embrace the struggle and like realize that every hard thing that happens in your life is for a reason and like will ultimately make you stronger. So like whether it's in basketball or whether it's with a girl or whether it's with your family, like any moment where like you're feeling down or you're having a hard time, like that is for a bigger purpose and you're going to come out bigger and better on the other side. So I think sometimes my previous self, and still I'm working on it to this day, like you overthink stuff and you stress but now it's like whenever I'm having hard times, I try to flip that. And I'm like, you know what, this is really, it's a hard time, but it's going to lead me to a better time. So that's kind of a perspective shift that I would share with my younger self. Yeah. But I don't think I would really do things any differently. So.
All right. So I just want to talk a little bit about training stuff, maybe with some high school hoopers. What are some things that you might see people are lacking at, or, you know, that should really start working on more at the high school level? Something that every player needs.
Yeah, I would say shooting is number one, right? Like, especially with the whole mixtape era and everything. I have guys who I work with who want to do all the dribble moves and dribble combos, but like, if you can't shoot, you can't play. It's really that simple unless you have some crazy talent. Like there's very few guys in the NBA who can't shoot and play. Like Draymond Green, Ben Simmons are probably the outliers there where they're great defenders, so they can do that. But shooting, and then number two, I would say decision making. So like a lot of players will train themselves 1-on-0, and then when they get to the game, they just don't know what to do. Like it's a whole different environment when you're working on moves by yourself, and then you have a 6'4" defender come up on you and pressure you. So I would just say like shooting, make sure you can shoot, and then also decision making and handling pressure with defenders on you. And you know, and then number three, I think I would say communication and leadership, because that doesn't necessarily come with the skills of the game, but I think like from the intangible standpoint, if you're a good communicator and you are able to like lead a room, like just study. Like one thing I've really tried to do the last year is study leadership. I never really did that before. But if you can lead a team, you'll have a place on any team, regardless if you play or not. Like the 15th man could be a leader, right? So yeah. I would say shooting decision making, and then I would like to see I have a couple high school guys. I was talking to them yesterday. Actually, I would like to see them take a step in their leadership, because it's hard when you're one of the alphas on your team in high school. Maybe there's 1, 2, or 3 guys who are really good, and then the other guys might just be average football players or not college basketball players. So how do you as a leader, instead of getting like upset with them and annoyed and say my team stinks, like how do you just pick everyone up and be a leader? So yeah.
Right, which is still, you know, positive mindset. Right. Especially kind of what you did at your role at the point guard, right? Most point guards should try to do that too. Do you have a favorite way to train your decision making? That's something that I'm really trying to, I think, improve as
so I'm big small-sided games. So essentially just any situation that you think you're going to see yourself, like it's really pretty simple. Any situation that you think you're going to be in a game, train that situation. So for me, a lot of ball screens and pick and roll stuff. If you see my videos with Mac McClung, like all he does is really pick and roll in his offense. So it's like have the ball, have someone guard you, have someone set a screen, have someone be the big play. That's really, and obviously you can add then constraints and say you have to score this way or you can't score this way, different stuff like that. But really, I mean, to see what situations am I in the game and then reverse engineer that to put yourself in those live scenarios. So that's really what I do.
So you mentioned Mac McClung, and you had a few videos with him too. What was it like working with him?
Yeah, so Mac's become a really good friend of mine now, family now. But it's been great. I mean, it's to be up close with a professional like that. And what's been really stood out to me is like Mac was viral. He's this internet sensation, but like he's still just such a genuine guy, and he like treats everyone. One of the stories I told was I went down to Gate City, Virginia, his hometown, to help him run his camp, and he signed and took pictures with, I think, 300 people. And
wow,
like, not once did I hear a complaint. Not once did I see him not giving them the time of day. And like, it was just inspirational to me to see like someone who's quote unquote made it, like, is still the same genuine great person. So that's been really cool to be around. And then working with him on court, it's just been a challenge for me because it's one of the first NBA guys who I really got to work with for an extended period of time. So just grateful for him to trust me, and you know, it's been a really fun collaborative effort. So yeah.
Alrighty, so I guess looking ahead into the future, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
You know, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I can try to answer it, but I'm gonna give you the honest answer first. Like, I'm really just trying to take it day by day right now. One thing I've really been trying to like stress in my life is being present. So like, as like a kind of overachiever, hard worker, you're always constantly focusing on the future and stuff like that. So like, one thing I really just trying to be is like, I just want to enjoy my college basketball season. I'm just trying to be present. But if I have to give you that answer, in 5 years, I see myself. In 5 years, I see myself traveling the world, putting on clinics. Shout out my man Coleman. That's what he's doing right now. So that's definitely something that I want to do. Traveling, training NBA guys, and just documenting it. It's like 3 pillars: like traveling around the world, putting on clinics, training NBA players, and then documenting the process. So that's kind of where I see myself.
Pretty much just continually improving from what you're doing now, right? Just
correct.
Gradually, you know, expanding over time.
Right. And yeah, just trying to help and inspire as many people as I can. And that's really what it comes down to. That's what kind of fulfills me, knowing that I can inspire one person with my content or my actions, and it's worth it, right? So.
All right, Danny, any last advice for younger hoopers?
Last advice for younger hoopers. I would say, what are you doing to separate yourself? So find ways to separate yourself. It doesn't necessarily mean working harder and spending more hours in the gym. Find ways to work smarter. Find ways to separate yourself that way. Do you watch film more? Do you, like, you know, study the best trainers? I think something that's missing a lot is that high basketball IQ. So I think that's something that you can really do to separate yourself. Once you get to high school and college, a lot of these dudes have the same skill. They really do. So it's the intangibles that are going to separate you. It's going to be how you think the game. It's going to be how you communicate. It's going to be how you carry yourself. And really just enjoy it. That's another thing. Like, so much of AAU culture now, it's turned into a job. Like, you're young. I mean, it's crazy how I'm already 22 and I'm already almost done college. Like, it goes fast. Really just remember, you're playing a game that you love. At the end of the day, we'd all do this for free because we love it. Just enjoy it, really. Try to be present, back to what I was saying. So.
Yep. Awesome advice. All right. Thank you, Danny, for your time. Once again, I appreciate it, man. You're somebody I look up to. The reason I started my channel. So, and it all stemmed from there.
For sure, man. I'm glad I could be inspiration. I appreciate your support. You're one of my OG supporters, for sure. So appreciate you.
All righty. Thanks again.
Yes, sir.
All right.